$26 million.
Real life job.
Future of social
Business
media.
of social
media.
There is no doubt that social media is revolutionizing the world. It is changing how we communicate and how we advocate for social changes, and in some cases, how we make money. In today's episode, we are going to be talking to 3 content creators or influencers, Jasma Zhou.
Jasma is a 16-year-old full-time high school student, part-time YouTuber, and aspiring food blogger who has garnered almost 70,000 subscribers and 2.5 million views on her YouTube channel, Jasma Fusion Cuisine, which she started at the young age of 11.
Durka Muru.
Durka is a part-time beauty content creator and influencer with 50,000 on Instagram. She's partnered up with international beauty brands and skincare brands.
And Thanuska
Thanuska is a full-time beauty, skincare, and fashion content creator who ventured into this industry about 3 years ago and now has over 180,000 followers on Instagram.
If you're eager to find out how to become an influencer, how to start a career as an influencer, and forge through and be an advocate for your own brand, and eventually also start making a good load of money, well then, this YouTube series is for you. Please take a listen and don't forget to like and subscribe. Well, thank you again so much for all of you for joining us today. I'd like to start off by just asking a little bit of a backstory and what your inspiration is to start off. So, Jasma, you're currently in high school and you're balancing school with a YouTube channel at the age of 11.
Yeah, of course. First of all, thanks for having me here. I started my channel at the age of 11, and I think the main thing that kind of drove me to it was being exposed to YouTube myself, because I moved to Canada in grade 5 from China, and I was exposed to this whole world of people sharing their interests and their expertise on the internet. And I just thought that was such an interesting thing and such an interesting pathway that you can take your passions and your hobbies to have, share with other people and essentially build a community that way. And I was just getting interested in cooking myself. And, YouTube taught me a lot, learning from all the other YouTubers. And I thought, why not start one myself? Because it seemed really fun, and I was already pretty interested in photography and kind of, that field of digital stuff that just melded very well with the whole YouTube idea. And I had parents that was pretty supportive with it as well. So it kind of just happened really naturally. And I love sharing my recipes. I love being able to kind of share with other people what I've learned along the way as well. So that's kind of how I got started with YouTube.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And Durka, you're currently working full-time in corporate and also balancing this content creation and being an influencer. So what inspired you to start putting out content?
I went along with Thanu to one of her makeup gigs, I guess, and I started doing hair, and then she kind of actually pushed me to create an Instagram page, but I didn't think of it as a content creation page. I thought of it more as just like me posting my client work on it, and that's how it kind of started. But then I started posting pictures of me, and I noticed that was picking up more than me posting client work. And then I started getting really into makeup and just like trying to figure out and perfect that, I would say. And then it just picked up from there, and I truly do enjoy doing that. It's kind of like a creative art to me. I don't know, like if I'm having a bad day and I create content and I look good in it, I feel great. So that's kind of how it started. And then YouTube was more just to like do funny videos with my parents, really. And it really picked up. And yeah, that's kind of how it started. And I'm just going with it now.
Yeah. I mean, Jasma, I love the food, and Durka, I must say, I am biased to your parents for sure. So Thanuska, you're doing this full time. I mean, to be a full-time, this is a full-time job, and you're part of Sephora Squad. What inspired you to start creating content and working with major brands as well?
I didn't start my page with the intention to create content. It was just like, I've always been into doing makeup. Like I've always done my makeup ever since I was young. My boyfriend's actually a videographer, so he's kind of the one that pushed me to do my first makeup tutorial because he wanted to videotape it and edit it for me. And so that's kind of how it started. And just that one video and the feedback that I got from people that kind of looked like me and like had my skin complexion, I realized how many people were actually looking for a creator that looked like me so that they can relate to. So that's kind of what inspired me to continue pushing out content. But even then, I didn't know that you can get paid to do work like that. I only knew that I could get paid when the first brand ever reached out to me. And that's kind of where I was like, oh, okay, so this is how influencers and content creators make money off of specifically Instagram. So that's kind of how I was just literally, I'm still going with the flow. It's not like a plan. I'm not even going to say this is what I want to do in the next couple of years. I'm trying to just making the best of all the opportunities that I get.
Wow, each one of you have, I mean, it comes from an inspiration from within, whether it's food or hair and makeup. It definitely helps our viewers understand that content creation and influencing can start from just inspiration alone. It can start from there. So I'll give it to Thanuja. She has a few questions for you guys, and then I'll take over after.
Yeah, so I just want to dive into what it takes to become a content creator and influencer, because it's not being a content creator and influencer, it's like a relatively new career path. So it's not talked about much in schools. And it's funny, I was just talking about this with Anu. Back in the day, our moms or aunts were doing the same thing. They were makeup artists. And Jasma, you mentioned you had a passion for all these digital skills like photography and editing from a young age. But social media is really what gave us this outlet to pursue it into a lucrative career. So what is the training required for social media, and is a degree or post-secondary education even necessary?
It's really flexible for everyone. It totally depends on what type of content you are creating. I think for one, it definitely helps to understand how to work with tech. So whether that's editing or camera equipment, things such as that. But I also think it would be quite helpful to understand the business side of things, because you do essentially earn money working with brands and other people, and a lot of people end up building an entire business out of it. And a lot of it is learning along the way as well. I started with just a super basic camcorder and barely understood how to use Final Cut Pro to do anything really. So there really isn't a conventional way to do it, I guess, is my answer. But a lot of the skills that you do need, you pick up along the way.
I don't think there's like a manual. Like, I don't think there's like a 101 how to become a content creator or anything like that. I also don't think a post-secondary degree is necessary either to become a content creator. There's a lot of younger kids nowadays becoming content creators and making it huge. Like, they have these great partnerships and deals and everything. And I don't think that comes because they have a degree, or even if they do have a degree, I don't think having a math degree is going to really teach you how to do much with content creating or anything like that. So I think it's two different things, and it's two different worlds in my opinion as well. I don't think it's talked about enough in school, and I don't think that's given as an option either. But who knows? It is fairly new, and maybe in the future it will be discussed. But yeah.
There are some skills that are necessary, I feel like, to become a content creator. Like, yeah, there is the tech side. Like, you do need to have some sort of equipment, whether it's your iPhone or something to record your content on, or lighting or whatever. And going back to what Durka was saying, your work quality is something that comes with time. Obviously, it's not something that comes right away for everybody. Luckily, in my case, it did come right away because I was working with my partner's equipment. And it is something that is necessary if you want to be more successful, I want to say. Like, if you want to work with brands, that's something that they do look for, high quality work. But that goes with, like, you're learning as you're going. So it's kind of like just going with the flow. But to answer your question about, do you need a post-secondary degree? Absolutely not. You don't need a post-secondary degree. You don't need a high school diploma, nothing to become a content creator. You literally just need passion, you need consistency, and you just your iPhone, literally.
Honestly, I think the world is definitely shifting, because the post-second degree is like, it's like a check mark. It's like a social checklist. You need to get that 4 years of education. And honestly, I feel like a lot of the time, a lot of people do it for their parents or their families and whatnot. Nowadays, people go to coding school and they they get a job within 6 weeks. So my next question is, were all of your families open to the idea of pursuing content creation and like actually taking it seriously as a career?
For South Asian parents, I find that my parents are very modern and they're very open to a lot of things that other South Asian parents might not be open to. And when I started doing it on myself and, I finally bought a camera and stuff, she was very supportive, but school was always my mom's like number one. Like school is always number one for her. And I guess when I didn't graduate and, I started working at a tech company, and she thought I was going to go back to school, and I didn't. I think even till this day, she's not happy about it necessarily, but she knows that I'm doing good for myself, and content creation, she knows it makes me happy. But she always tells me it shouldn't be a full-time job. So they're like, but it's not going to stop me. That's never like what my mom's telling me is never going to stop me, because if it's something that truly does make me happy, and if I'm able to, do it full time and make a good income on my, just doing that, that's what I'm going to do. And I think my mom will realize that. And she does see it. Like when I first got my first paycheck from content creation, she literally opened it and she's like, they pay you this much for a photo? Like, and I think slowly she will realize, and she's happy with me creating it. She's very proud when people tell her, oh, I see your daughter online and stuff. But at the same time, I think school will always be their number one, like, thing. Like you have to have a degree. My mom tells me till this day that I can still go and finish it. So yeah. I don't think that's something that's going to change in the community just yet, because as you said, it's not something that they're educated on. They don't really know, and it's not respected either. And at least I don't think it is in our South Asian community. It's not like saying, oh, my daughter's a content creator. Like people are not going to understand what that is. Right. So yeah, it's a learning process, thing. And I think with time it will change.
I think I've been very lucky with Chinese parents who are very open to the idea of content creating in the online world. I started my channel when I was 11, so my parents were very hands-on with it to begin with. And I think the notion that it isn't a real job, it just comes with the fact that there's a risk factor to it and that there's a certain unknown to it, but that applies to almost any job these days. So I think that shouldn't really be something that should be an obstacle to doing it.
My situation was very different from there. My parents were not modern at all, or are not modern with obviously career. I did finish my degree. I had that. So it was hard for them to understand why I pursued doing makeup full time, because they didn't see, and it's not that they weren't supportive of it. I don't think they're educated enough to know that actually you can make a living off of it. I think that was the main thing. And my dad, he is slowly starting to understand. Like Durka said, he still opens my mail even though I'm 28 years old and still looks through my stuff. So he sees my paychecks and he's really confused on how this money is even possible. And I live on my own too. So my dad is still confused how I can afford it. Like things like this, like when he sees me taking steps like this in my life, it hits him like, okay, like she is making something, obviously, especially since I do this full time. So, I mean, like Durka said, like it is when you have Sri Lankan parents that grew up believing that or not believing, but they struggled to get an education back home. It wasn't that easy. So no matter what we tell them, even if they understand or see that we're making a living off of something like this, they still would want us to try and get an education because that's something that they struggled for. So I don't think that's ever going to change, but I do think that they're slowly understanding.
I see what you mean, because when they had to struggle so much to get that education, today, when our generation, in their views, it's like, we're taking this for granted. Mm-hmm. Moving on to my next question, follower counts. Do those matter? Is it more based on how you engage with your audience?
I mean, it's a mix of both. Like I'm not going to sit here and say followers don't matter to get opportunities. There are certain brands and companies that do look for you to have that reach, because at the end of the day, that's their goal. They want to reach out to influencers or content creators that are going to be able to engage with the larger audience. That's how they're going to be able to, sell or promote their product, right? Which in a business perspective makes sense. So you definitely need some sort of platform. I'm not going to say you need 100, 200, 3,000, 300,000 followers to start content creation or start making money, because me and Durka are examples of starting to earn money as like small as having just 10,000 followers on Instagram, right? So it does matter, but at the same time, there's other things that come with it. Like you still have to be producing really good quality content, because there are creators that have less than 10,000 followers who are still making really good money because their content speaks for, themselves.
Followers help you seem more legitimate to brands, to other people who are just discovering your content. But I have definitely seen people with less followers compared to people with more that receive more views. And since I receive the most of my income and most of my audience on YouTube, the views are really what matters. But it's kind of a simultaneous thing where the views help gain you more followers, but followers also help you gain you more views. So it does matter, but it definitely isn't an absolute thing. Whereas if you don't have enough followers, you're not going to be successful. You're not going to earn any sort of money, because that's not the case. But it does matter to a certain extent.
But numbers do matter for sure, in the sense of like, just, I think for Instagram especially, I think like for brands to recognize you and stuff, I think it does matter, because they do ask for, usually when they do want to work with you, they do ask for like your engagement, and they ask for the screenshots of all of that before they can, move forward with if they want to move forward, or how much they can actually pay you. So I do think that matters. But I know with YouTube, some of my videos like hit crazy numbers, and I got paid really well through those videos, even though I was probably at like 8,000 subscribers at the time. But I do think because of those views, I was able to gain the followers. So it's like, I think it does matter in some sense, but I don't think you should put too much importance on it. It's hard not to sometimes, but so long as you're putting out quality content, I feel like if a brand's going to want to work with you, they're going to reach out. That's how I look at it.
Mm-hmm. So I guess what all three of you are saying is numbers do matter, but to a certain extent, and don't let numbers stop you from pursuing social media and content creation. So if you guys could go back to when you first started your channel and content creation, and when you hit those first milestones, like first 100 subscribers, and then you move it up to 1,000. At the time, how are you marketing yourself and creating your personal brand? And what advice would you give to youth who are overwhelmed by like the whole follower and numbers game?
If you're passionate about something and you can create the content, like that's all you really should be, especially if you're just starting out. There's no way you can focus on the numbers right from the get-go. The numbers don't come right at the beginning. Especially how social media and YouTube is right now. It's really hard to grow nowadays. I'm sure we all can agree on that. Social media is not what it was a couple of years ago. It's so hard to grow on Instagram and YouTube. So it's all you can do when you first start is focus on your content and focus on putting out content that's of value to people. Like you have to think like, okay, what's the purpose of why I'm putting out this content? Like for me and Durka, we wanted to educate people who are our skin tone and to show them, okay, there are products that work for our skin complexion at these stores. That's why we grew as fast as we did, because people were able to relate to us, and there weren't many other influencers and creators like ourselves on Instagram. So it's just from the beginning, if you're looking to start, just focus on yourself, focus on putting out content that's going to either, entertain people or educate people or provide some sort of value to them, because that's what's going to allow you to grow your following. If your content doesn't mean anything to you, then it's not going to mean anything to anybody else either. So that's point number one, or starting spot number one for anyone that's looking to start in content creation.
And make sure that you're relatable. Like I find being relatable is like the number one thing, because you want people to be able to like have conversations about what you're posting, whether that be like, girl, like where did you get that lipstick from? Like, like you have dark upper lips, but like your lipstick always looks on point. Like whatever it is, you just want to be relevant, in my opinion. And I think that will take you far for sure.
I think advice-wise, I would say that the numbers and the milestones in terms of followers, likes, views, whatever, it doesn't matter as much as you think it would. And it doesn't actually mark any sort of importance in your journey on content creating. I remember when I first started out, 10,000 subscribers was like the dream. It was what I was working for. And every video is kind of like you're working towards that milestone. But once you actually get to it, it doesn't feel as surreal as you would think it does. There's always going to be the next milestone. And it, like, the importance of numbers sort of just, it becomes unfazed over time, and you're kind of become desensitized to the growth of the numbers. It can be encouraging, but it isn't what's supposed to be driving you. It should just kind of be a little bonus on the side, noting that how many people are now aware of your existence. But really, it shouldn't affect you as much as it does. And I think that you should just know that those numbers are going to come organically as long as you keep doing what you're doing and you like what you're doing. But the numbers games is super easy, like, to get lost in it. I had a time where I just kept refreshing analytics every 10 minutes maybe, and it's really easy to become obsessive over that and become really sad when it's not what you want it to be. But at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter as much as you think it would. The comments that other people give you are probably what's going to make you feel better about yourself, rather than how many zeros you have behind a like or a follower count.
And Durka, you mentioned talking about consistency. How do you all stay motivated to constantly deliver content? I feel like the line can get a bit blurred between work and personal life. So do you guys recommend working like on a schedule, like 9 to 5?
I think for me, it's hard because I work 9 to 5, so I find balancing it can be really a struggle a lot of the times. And like, I also like to be active, so working out is also like a priority for me. So I feel like I'm juggling so many things at once. But what I try to do is I try to create content like Monday to Friday, and I try to not create any content on Saturday, Sundays, and just like relax, because those are like the 2 days that I'm not working my 9 to 5 either. So I don't want to be working a second job, like my second job on the weekends as well. So I try to work during the weekdays, which can also be very exhausting sometimes. I'm not saying it's easy, and I'm not saying I'm always motivated. Sometimes it's forced, and sometimes I need the push. And I think surrounding yourself around people that uplift you and that will push you, it makes a huge difference. Because when I'm not feeling like creating content, whether that be because I'm not growing or just because I'm tired or whatever it may be, I feel like, like Mayu, he, like my fiance, he really pushes me to create content. Or like, even like, I'll call Thanu sometimes and I'll be like, dude, I don't feel like creating any content. And she'll be like, just do it. Like, and just, or even taking a break when you're feeling like down like that, I feel like makes a really big difference. But yeah, or creating content that you actually feel like creating. Sometimes I find that, I'm creating content that people want to see rather than what I want to create. And I feel like that affects my mood and like my motivation. So just trying to find a balance, but it's not easy. It is not easy. I struggle with it. I post every day, but I struggle with it sometimes. So.
Jasma?
I think the idea of setting boundaries, it's really tough, because for the most part, when you're not doing it full time, you don't really have the luxury to count it as something that you can set boundaries for. For me, with high school and with everything else I got to be doing in life, it's really tough to say I'm going to be working a certain amount of hours every single day or every week. It's hard to say when you're supposed to be working on these things. But I think it comes down to prioritizing and kind of understanding what you want, what you're doing to become. If you want it to become a job, you need to treat it like a job. But if you want it to just be kind of a side hustle or a hobby, you treat it like a hobby, and you do it when you have time to do it or you want to do it. Personally, I'm the exact flip. I do my work on the weekends because that's when I don't have school, and I do all my filming on those days. It's important to kind of have a set amount of time that you're going to work on it for sure. So for me, I always prioritize my weekends mainly just for YouTube, whereas on my weekdays, I would prioritize school, and I am able to kind of set YouTube aside if I don't have time for it. In terms of motivation, I think that's really tough because, like most people, I also struggle with the whole consistency factor. It's probably one of the things that has set me back over the years. But I think the motivation really just comes through always having something else to look forward to, or always having something else to work towards. So for me, I always plan my videos way ahead of time. So even if I get stuck on this one video, I have something else that I know that I should be working for, or I have something else to kind of look forward to. Even if that fails, I think at the end of the day, it's just down to yourself. And if you like what you're doing, the motivation's always going to exist there. Some days it will get tough, but you'll always come back to it and find why you started doing something in the first place, if it's genuinely something that you want to be doing for yourself.
So, I mean, you guys talked about some good paychecks that kept coming through the mail. You know, when you start off as a freelancer, as an influencer, that's usually, or if you have that idea to become a content creator, you're wondering, okay, how much can I really make out of this? And so the best people to ask are the people who do get those checks. So let me just start off with you, Durka. Durka, you are working full-time and running, and also an influencer. So maybe break it down to me. You don't have to obviously share your pay, but like ranges, when you partner with someone, what is the range that someone can expect based on those partnerships? And then if you can also cover why you made the decision to still work full-time, with another company and do this part-time.
Yeah, so I think it's dependent on the campaign, right? And what they're reaching out for and what their ask is. Because I think every company is different, every agency is different. You know, some agencies will pay better, or some companies will pay better and some will pay a lot less, right? And again, it's the ask. Like, for example, if they were to ask for just a static photo, I would charge less, or they would pay less compared to if they were asking for a video. Because when you're shooting a video, there's a lot more work, I think, that goes into it. Because now you have to edit the video and you have to make sure, you know, it goes under review. And if they want you to fix something, that means you have to do the video entirely over again and all that kind of stuff. So I think it depends on the ask. And then it also depends on the follower count. Because I remember when I first started, and I think my first ever like gig that I got, or like my campaign that I got, was at like 9,000 followers. And I think they paid me like $100 for like a video, which looking back now, I'm like, I would never do a campaign for that little, for that much work, right? But everyone starts somewhere. But I think as you grow and your engagement gets bigger, you get paid better. Again, it depends on who's reaching out and everything. But I think it's very dependent. I don't think there's a way to calculate it. I really don't. And the reason I decided to continue doing this full-time and work full-time, because I consider them both full-time jobs for me, is because, I don't know, ever since I've been young, I've been working. I've always had a steady paycheck. And I thought it was, in the beginning, especially, I wasn't getting campaign opportunities and I wasn't getting paid as much, right? I was posting more just like organic posts. So I was like, there's no way I can survive off of just Instagram at this point. And the reason I do it now is because, you know, I have a mortgage to pay for. I have a wedding that I have to pay for. And I think the lifestyle I live is a very social lifestyle. And I think if I want to enjoy and have fun on the weekends and travel and still pay for a mortgage and buy people gifts and all that kind of stuff, I have to work my full-time job as well as do Instagram. But I think at some point, and I'm hoping sooner than later, that I will be able to do it full-time, because I think that's my goal. That's my goal, to be able to do it full-time. But right now it's not possible for me. But I also enjoy the double paychecks that I'm getting, because now I have, like, sometimes I look at it and I'm like, hey, this is like extra cash that I can like now buy whatever I want with it, right? And if I want to buy equipment's really expensive. So the way I look at it is, you know, I can use my paychecks that I get from work, like my 9 to 5, for like everyday stuff. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, my thing just went blank. My bad. Everyday stuff. And then my campaigns and stuff, I just kind of either save or I'll use it for like a new lens or some stuff like that. So yeah. And yeah, like I said, I hope one day I'll be able to do it full time though.
That's I mean, and that's a decision that you made for the time being, that and it'll support your lifestyle. So if we flip to Thanuska, you're doing this full time. So clearly, and you do have a mortgage, and you do. I'm sure you, well, COVID set apart, you love to take your vacations, and somehow that paycheck seems to be working well. So what sort of like when you started off, did you start off just knowing what the range is? And from a full-time, from someone who does it full-time, are there unions that you know of that cover, that cover your bases if you work full-time,
When you jump into content creation, you're never going to know what type of pay you can expect, because it's like Durka said, it depends on your work, it depends on your following, it depends. There's so many factors that play into what your pay is. But if you're asking, is this a sustainable job? Yes, it is. I don't talk about my pay, but I've tripled my income in my last full-time job. So I do get paid well, where I can live a very comfortable life. So people should know that this is a job that pays really well, but it depends what you're getting offered. But you also need to know that you should ask for the money that you deserve.
Like in the corporate world that I'm in, we have payscale.com. We kind of know if you want to be a project manager, this is kind of the rate that you should be asking for. And then of course, your experience and all that, you add more based on that. So for someone who wants to do this full time, is there a website that they can go to, or is there a group that they can go to and say, hey, what should I be charging? I don't want someone
really
taking advantage of me.
I don't think that there's any, I mean, it would be really nice if there was, because there's so many things that I feel like I screwed up on big time with regards to charging. Like me and Durka talk about all this time. When we first started, we thought we were only supposed to charge for the video that we are creating for them. But we're not only supposed to charge for the video, we're supposed to charge for the usage, we're supposed to charge for the exclusivity, we're supposed to charge for the amplification, because a lot of these brands, what they do is they use new creators because we're super uneducated and unaware about all of these things. And they are really, a lot of companies and agencies are very, very, very sneaky in that sense. And because they know we're not going to ask for that kind of money, they'll get our content, and then 5 years later, our content is still in stores. It's still playing on ads, which we should be getting paid for. So there, unfortunately, is no union. There's no, not that I know of. But the good thing about our community is, if someone came to me tomorrow and asked me, hey, which a lot of people do, I'm happy to share the answers. I'm not afraid to share anything, because there's room for all of us. And I would want, especially people in our South Asian community, I would want all of us to succeed. There needs to be more of our faces in this industry. So people need to know that you can't just expect the answers to come to you. You have to go seek the answers, and you have to ask to figure it all out, right? Which is what I did. I messaged people and I asked things. I luckily had other influencers that were so kind enough to share information, tell me what they think that my work deserves, which really helped. My experience on Sephora Squad as well has helped me understand, oh shoot, okay, a huge company like Sephora thinks that I deserve this kind of money, then that was my base for how I charged other brands. So it really, I don't know, it really depends, but I would really encourage people to ask questions, message people. You'll be surprised with who's willing to help you.
Yeah. That's awesome. And Jasma, I know you're predominantly right now on YouTube versus Instagram. Is that, can that be considered a monetary decision? Do you find that you're making more out of YouTube versus Instagram?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I haven't monetized Instagram just yet. For a while, I didn't really take it seriously. It's kind of just been like a promotion sort of thing for my YouTube. I only started posting super consistently on Instagram during quarantine, so that hasn't taken off for me. But YouTube definitely is enough of a source of income, predominantly from AdSense. But a lot of the money, like the big chunks of money, comes from sponsorships and working with brands as well. I haven't dived too deep into that world just yet because I don't understand enough of it. And I think a lot of what's been talked about so far, it's like I don't want to get taken advantage of by companies, especially since I'm 16. So I haven't really dipped my toe in there yet, but that is a lot more money is there, but YouTube does provide you with enough income if you do work enough for it. Most of my income has been from AdSense, but I also make commission from affiliate links and things such as that. So it definitely is enough of an income, but definitely not enough for full time just yet.
If I can perhaps ask, since Jasma, you are not really involved in brand partnerships, Durka and Thanuska, you both are, is there a way that you reach out? Is it usually them reaching out to you, or is it you reaching out to them? And if you do reach out to them, how do you kind of create this proposal? Other than, yes, I've got X number of followers, and yes, look at my great content and the analytics. Is there a formal proposal that you reach out to brand?
So I have never reached out to a brand to work, like to do a paid campaign or anything like that. They usually always reach out to me, but I do know, and I do follow certain content creators that do speak about like, oh, like I was so consistent with reaching out to them on a regular. And I don't think it's reaching out to them being like, can we do a paid campaign? But it's more like reaching out to maybe be on their PR list. I've done that like twice, but basically, I think having Thanu in my corner is great because she knows a lot more than I do, I feel. And so like she made me create like a media kit, and that basically is just like it's kind of like a flyer about yourself and what you do. And you write down what you like, how many followers you have on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram, and write a blurb about you and what you provide and the services that you can do. And I think when you have that and you send it to a brand and say, hey, like I want to be on your PR list, like I love your brand and what you guys are about, and then you say like this is my media kit, then they take you a bit more seriously, because I don't think many people do like have a media kit or even a rate card, because that's also something that people have. So yeah, I don't know if you can necessarily, but I'm sure some people do it and it works. I just haven't. I don't even have time to like respond to half my emails. So yeah.
No, you were a tough cookie to get a hold of. And if I can ask you about lessons learned, so is there one mistake that you made on? So one thing that I heard is charging brand ambassadors like $100, which is ridiculous. now that we go back and think about it, something like that. Is there other big lessons that you learned that you can share today? Just one lesson to someone who wants to start becoming a social influencer, and you say, don't do that. That is a lesson learned.
I would say to just do your research, because I think going in blind is probably the worst thing that you can do, especially now that there's just so much that you don't know about the whole world of the internet. When I started, I was just making videos, posting it, and that was it. I never did any researching in terms of what SEO is, how you're supposed to market yourself, how to diversify your social media, and how to promote yourself. I didn't know any of those things, and I never really paid attention to any of those things either. So I would say, do your research in terms of how analytics work. What even are analytics? What do they mean? How you're supposed to be learning from them? What is the smart way to get the most out of a single video? How should you, time the duration of it? How long is too long? How short is too short? And, how often should you be posting? A lot of those things require a little learning, because if you want to take it as a job and you want to start doing something seriously, it really does require some learning. And it kind of doesn't it's quite intuitive when you think about it, but when you first start, it just feels like something you're doing on your own, and it doesn't feel like something that requires any sort of learning, really. And until you are in too deep, it took me about 3 years before I truly started to learn about what I should be doing I wasted 3 years that I could have really spent building a lot of exposure and building a bigger audience. And I was posting pretty consistently for those 3 years as well, but I didn't make the most out of that. So lesson learned, just do your research, learn as much as you can, because there are tons of influencers that even make courses these days on how you should be doing certain things and how to be a good influencer or a successful one, how to make the most money out of it. And the resources are all there. You just have to go look for it.
Do you have any recommendations, any specific recommendations that you can follow?
I think one of the first that made me realize how much I was missing out on is photography school. So it's kind of like a photography social media course made by this food blogger, Broma Bakery. Her name is Sarah Crawford, and she made this course, kind of just the whole package, how you should, food blog, the aspect of food blogging, but also the business aspect, how to build your own media kit, how you should reach out to brands, how to write your emails and how to respond to emails, all of those things. That was one of the first that I really started paying attention to. But if you kind of listen for it, a lot of influencers talk about their analytics and their business side of things. One of the lifestyle influencers that I've been watching forever is Alicia Marie, and she talks about her business side all the time. And they're kind of scattered all over the place, but if you pay attention to it, it really does help, because those are the most candid moments. But there are really a ton of courses that you can look for, and some of them truly are worth investing into, and it'll probably send you really far if you make the most out of it.
That's awesome. And Durka, do you have any, one lesson learned?
I think one lesson learned is just investing in yourself. I still have this problem where I don't necessarily do the most, invest in myself as much as I should. But I think investing in equipment and just investing time and learning and all of that will take you a long way. Because in the beginning, I was using my phone, which is great, but I think if your end goal is to be able to work with brands and create quality content, then investing in a proper camera, investing in a editing software, or learning how to edit and taking time to do that, it will take you a long way. Because if you want to be successful, you need to know the ins and outs of the industry. And I think that's a huge just having those things will make a difference, I think, and will take you far. And I think that's a mistake that a lot of people do when they're starting out. You don't need the best equipment. That's not what I'm saying, but just learning and understanding that, okay, well, if I do want to work with major brands, then, maybe I should look into getting a nicer camera and learning how to edit and all of those things. So yeah, that's what I would.
And what camera do you have? Would you like to share?
I started off with my phone. Then Mayu bought me a Nikon Coolpix, which was and then now I have a Rebel SL2 Canon. So, and then my next one would, we'll see. But and then what I did was I ended up upgrading the lens. But as time goes on, I want to get better equipment that I'm more content with. Right now, I'm okay with what I have and it works for me. But eventually, I would want to invest in better equipment. So yeah.
That's awesome. All right, and Thanuska, one lesson learned.
I would say don't sell yourself too short. I feel like in the beginning, I always knew my work was really, really good. That's something that I've always been confident in. At that time, I always felt like my work was really good. But whenever I would talk to brands or pitch myself to brands and things like that, I always thought oh, okay, I shouldn't ask for this much because I'll either lose the opportunity or I don't have enough followers, or I know of other influencers that they're working with, and it's okay, but I'm not I don't think I'm up to par with them, or they're the stats that they bring in. But it's deep down, I always felt like I could have asked for more, or even declined certain opportunities and things like that. I've done a lot of work for free in the beginning, doing collabs and things like that. And I look back and I regret it so much, because there's certain companies that still use my photos and still use my content till this day that I'm not even getting paid for. And it really bugs me, but I can't do anything because I never did my research. Like Jasma said, research is so important. Like I think a lot of people jump in wanting to create content, not knowing what they, like I said earlier, you need to know what you could charge for, because there's a lot of money in this industry and people don't even know. Like these companies, especially the big ones, if they're only offering you a couple $100s for a video, there's a problem. Like they're trying to take advantage of you. So it's just understanding your industry, understanding the brands that you're working with, would really help. And just not doubting yourself and just having confidence in the work that you produce is really important. I think that's something that I didn't have in the beginning, very, very, very beginning, but yeah.
So since you're doing this full time, and I'm sure that with brand partnerships and all that, you have a lot of contracts. Do you personally go through those contracts, or do you think, do you suggest?
Read everything. I read everything.
So you don't have a lawyer?
No, I don't. I unfortunately don't. But I mean, if I need to get one in the future, then I will. I won't hesitate. But reading contracts is really important. I feel like a lot of people don't do that because, yeah, I literally thought of Durka because I had to message her the other day because we were working on a similar project with the same brand, and some brands and companies are very sneaky. They'll add clauses in your contracts and won't mention it in the initial email. So you think you're signing up for something, but they're actually asking for more, and it's in your contract. The moment you sign it and send it, that's what you are being paid for, and you're expected to give. Like I said, you're not only getting paid for the video or whatever. They might ask for usage. Oh, can we use your content for 6 extra months? You're not allowed to produce content for competing companies in this time. Like some of those things, these companies don't ask in the email. They'll add it in your contract without you knowing. And if you don't read your contract, you're signing up for that, and you can get sued if you breach that contract. So it's really important to read your contract thoroughly and understand it. And if you see something you don't understand, always clarify, because they'll have to answer it, right? So yeah.
So last question. I mean, I really learned a lot from all your lessons learned. Now you all are influencers in the sense and have found your niche space of influence. So if you could inspire a movement, just any movement whatsoever, if you could inspire a movement, what would that be about?
I think I'm the type of person that embraces every single part of my body, meaning I have dark armpits, I'll walk around with hairy legs, it doesn't matter. And I feel like, a lot of people always ask me, like, how do you even leave your house with shorts on when your legs are so hairy? And it just doesn't bother me, like just things like that. And I feel like I would love to like somehow, make more people comfortable with that kind of stuff. Cause like, I don't have perfect legs, and I have like super hairy legs, and I don't have time to shave them all the time, or really dark armpits and all of that, and just be confident. Because I remember when I did speak about my dark armpits, so many people messaged me being like, how are you like showing your armpits on social media? And you have such dark armpits. Like I don't ever wear short sleeves because of that reason. So I guess something to do with that. But again, I don't see myself being like a leader for this. I'm passionate about certain things, and just go on my little rants here and there on social media. So yeah.
Future brand partnerships with laser and Botox.
Yeah, maybe laser. Down for that. If someone wants a partnership with me for laser, I would be so down.
Thanuska, how about yourself? What sort of movement would you like?
I was literally going to say what Durka said. Like, I actually think we already started a movement, to be honest, and that's embracing who we are, embracing our melanin, because years before we started, you didn't see many people that look like us on social media. We all came in, not just me and Durka, there's other influencers within our community, not just our community, but the Black community, and like just people of color. I think that in itself is a movement, and just embracing our skin. Like we were looked down upon for how many generations because we look like our color looks like this. And now there's so many of us, brands want to work with us because we are colored. So I think our movement has already begun, to be honest. And that's just, I would want the younger generation, like there's so many younger girls that are deeper skin tone and have hyperpigmentation and struggle with hairy body or whatever, like whatever the issue is. I would want people to know that they can come on social media and they're not going to realize who they may inspire. I've had so many people reach out to me talking about skin concerns that they experience, or like extreme psoriasis and things like that. And like they really want to start social media, but they fear like, you know, people trolling them and things like that. But my response is almost, you never know how many people are actually struggling with the same issue, and you may just inspire one person. Inspiring and changing one person's life is just, that's such a rewarding thing in itself. So yeah, I think just embracing who we are as people, how we were born and raised, that movement has already started. I believe in that. So I think we're doing a good job.
I think so too.
As colored people.
Oh, I think so too. And, you know, having young daughters myself, and I know I teach a lot of youth, it's surprising those who follow, and it's not surprising, they follow you. So many youth follow you. And now to them, these 10-year-olds and 11-year-olds are like, yeah, it's okay. Like there's nothing, you know, at one point, a decade ago, to be dark was, you know, oh, you're dark. Now it's like, oh, wow, I'm dark. Yeah, look at me. Like, I'm beautiful. Just to have that conversational change, you guys did that. You made that change. And, you know, Jasma, with your food and your love for food, and starting at the age of 11, you almost started a revolution where kids are like, you know, people can take me seriously. People can take my food seriously. And I can actually learn to take pictures like this and put myself out there. And it's not about age. It's just, we just interviewed someone who talked about age, not ability. And so you're starting your own movement there as well, with given your age and given what you love and what you're passionate and showing that to the world out there.
So just for our viewers listening, how can they reach out to you guys?
So find me on Instagram at Jasma Fusion Cuisine and YouTube on Jasma Fusion Cuisine. I have a blog coming soon, but those will all be attached on my social media platforms and YouTube as well.
Awesome. And Durka?
You can find me on Instagram at Durka Muru, YouTube as well, Durka Muru. And yeah, those are the two ways. And for Thanuska, you can also find her at Thanuska S. And I think on YouTube, she's Thanuska Subramaniam. So yeah.
So thank you so much, all of you, the three of you, for, you know, spending your time with us. I'm really excited to get this video out. Each one of you are truly inspiring. I know Thanuja is a big fan, and me too. I don't know how you guys do it. I create content, but not the way you guys do. And it is an immense amount of work, and you're truly making a difference in a lot of people's lives. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you
for having us.
Thank you for having us.